And let me tell you something. Are we taping this? I haven't been out here in a long time. And I'm taking a look at all these fish out here and I'm going, hey, what the heck? These guys are hiding stuff from me. But I'll find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to Florida Exotic. This is Rick, getting to show you what we used to do about making our food. And you all know what it became. This is the 1.5 Extreme product. That what we're about to show you was the what we finally came up with. And this happens to be the Nano. Terrific for smaller fish. And also this right here, like we're standing next to some frontoses. If I've showed you before, if you wet that and make little squeezy things out of it, you can feed the frontoses because you don't want the frontoses coming up and eating at the surface. So these are our ingredients that we had before. Now, this shrimp meal right here, originally got this from Bill Heron when I moved down here. When we moved down here in '74, we had tetramin flakes, we had trout chow and catfish chow. Trout chow was too oily. Catfish chow was not anything. It didn't give us the ingredients. So met Bill Heron, who was a fish farmer down here, and he told me about shrimp meal. And then we found out about fish meal. And then we found out about krill. And then we found out about spirulina. And then we found out about chicken vitamins. So we decided over the years, many, many years, we started using these different ingredients. And at times, we would run out of one of them, and we would notice a difference in the fish, how they were functioning, and we would, well, usually no one tell me we were out of it, and I would say, hey, fish aren't as red. Hey, their natural color is not as good as it was. Hey, and they would say, oh, we've been out of krill meal for a while. Oh, we were also using pepper, cayenne pepper extract. We were using marigold extract. All that now is in the Extreme formula in its different forms, but it's all in there. And then we always used to use rice baby cereal. I don't know why rice worked so well. And for many, many, many years, we used to hand mix this up. And the good part about it is we all had big Popeye arms from doing this. But I just mix it together. And eventually, we started mixing this up because we were feeding a huge farm. I mean, sometimes it's just hand mixing. Tony and I and whoever else was around at the time, we'd be mixing for 2 hours. And then we'd be feeding for 2 more hours. So that was hard. And the bigger we got here on the farm, obviously, the harder it got. So we decided that then what we did was we went out and bought a big Hobart pizza mixer, 65 quart. And so then we figured out how much of each ingredient we would put in this big 65 quart mixer. And then we mix it up. It would take we would probably mix up 6 of these trays full. And it would take, Tony would take it. Tony's been here, poor guy. He's been here all his life. He made the mistake of showing up when he was 18 and helped me with something and never left. But, and then to feed it, it would take just as long, if not, it would take longer to feed it than it did to make it because you have to go out and throw this stuff in order for the fish to get it in many, many places in the tank. So that was a major job. Eventually, people would say, hey, your fish, the color on your fish is just, how do you do that? And I would say, well, unfortunately, it's my food. And well, why can't we have it? Well, you can't have it because you can't use it in your tanks. Well, why not? Well, because it's messy. And we have flow-through water here. So it's not something, you can't throw this in an aquarium. You could, but let me just go over here for a minute. Well, never mind. But I'm just showing, like you can just see, when it hits the water, it's going to break apart. You see it starting to break apart? Now, nothing's eating it, but it's breaking apart. Well, you can't have that. So anyway, We mix this up, get it good, and then it's ready to go. It's ready to be fed. So, for example, if I was feeding these frontoses here, I don't know if you can see them, and now keep in mind they've never seen this stuff, so they're not going to jump on it. Well, there they are, but you see how they're going to take a whole mouthful of it in. So they're like thinking, what is this stuff? I haven't seen this. They're used to the 1.5. Like those guys back there, nobody's around them. So they're going to hit that food hard. And this is kind of how you want to feed. Well, if you have frontoses and you're feeding 1.5, you can just throw it in there if you want. But you'd also wet it, and you can almost make this. Make something like this. So anyway, we're going to head over and show you how we feed this food, and then we'll start right back up again. Okay, I'm going to come along and feed some of these guys. These are Johnston eyes, but you can see how they hit it. But you see the powder coming off of it? And once we finally had it pelletized, we realized how much we were losing, for example, in the actual water column, because the fish were not, a lot of it, the vitamins. We used to use Stacy, which was very good because it was a vitamin C that stayed stable. But even then, we didn't realize how much we were losing when we fed this. But you see, in order to feed this tank, I've got to stand here for X amount of time and spread it around because they're going to hit it. Here we go on some, I think these are quads or burley eyes. But now you notice like the bigger fish are in there, there's some babies in there, but they really don't, they're not getting a chance. But with a 1.5, we just walk by and take a handful and heave it. They're ready to go. So we'll take you over and show you some other fish also that we'll be feeding. Now these are little guys. They have not seen this food. These are acuticeps. Now they're hungry, so they're eating it. And again, see, I have to spread it out because if we used to ball it up like this and throw it, kind of flatten it and heave it in there so it goes down, and they'll start eating it. So they'll clobber that. But again, the 1.5, the way they normally get fed, we just throw it in there. I don't have to do all this work. So here I am in front of this. Now imagine, look around you. Imagine feeding this farm if you had to do this. So we did this for many, 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 many years. Then we pelletized it, and we weren't thinking so much about how a pain in the neck it was for us to do it. We were thinking how to get it to the customers, and this formula. So we were very fortunate when we did it that we were able to, I'm gonna throw some in here, and on the way back we can look and see what they're doing. We were very fortunate, those are plecostomus, very fortunate that when we had it pelletized, they stuck to the formula really well. So that really helped out because then it was what we wanted the fish to have. We didn't want them to lose any of the ingredients. Now these are some peacocks. Now they're going to clobber it. Now this has the same attractant to it that the 1.5 does. So even though these fish have never seen this, but it's attractive to them. It's the shrimp meal, the fish meal, all those other things are what makes them come after it. So if you came up here and throw something that had no attractant, they'd bite at it, but they wouldn't go after it. They wouldn't clobber it. We used to have tanks where, see how it's kind of messed up water? We used to have tanks we would just hold our hands in here like this just for the fun of it, and they'd come up and peck it off your hands. But that's when they were used to getting this food every day. So then, when Andy took it over, took over Extreme, Andy and Keita, they have even done some cooler stuff to it, all that made it even better. I mean, they sourced out. These right here are Tanganyikans. I think these are, let's see, these are yellow calvus, and they're really finicky, but they'll eat it. But again, they're used to the 1.5. Now, they're more finicky than most Tanganyikans, so they're not eating as well. Here we've got, let's go over here. These are maybe, can you turn the water off for me, please? And then these are little, this is a little assorted bunch of pseudos here. And they'll probably eat it. But again, we turn the water off. Everything affects them. 3 people out here with buckets, and they freak out. But you can see how they eat it. This is great. You know, sometimes we miss this because it was fun to see. One of the things I liked about this food when we were feeding it, excuse me, is that you spent time around a tank. So, you know, you could see the fish. I mean, that's the most important time I tell the guys when they're feeding really is walking around and you see what's happening. If I was feeding this tank and this was their normal food and they were up here eating like this, I'd be really concerned. So I'd stop and see what's wrong. And maybe there's something that needs to be taken care of. But again, I'm throwing it in little pieces, but that's how we used to feed it. So if you look at that, now imagine this. That's down there at the bottom, and there's all different sized fish here. The little fish really don't have a chance. So we would get lots of different growth rates. But when we started pelletizing it, everything happened. We never were without an ingredient, and it was perfect. Now, also, the formula, the 1.5 formula, is super clean. And by that I mean they're using it all up. They're not, there's not a lot of filler, there's not a lot of ingredients that they don't need. So we noticed when we had it pelletized, we had less waste in the tank. We had, the fish were better. We could use less breeders because they were getting all the nutrients, and it was a perfect thing. So if you want a really dynamite food, check out the Extreme products. 1.5 is terrific. It's our main feeding. The scraper, I'm probably saying it wrong, is an excellent food my brother came up with. They've got the Nano, which is terrific for babies, a little bit higher protein, and they've got many other blends. But here we are at this back pond. This was what was here when I first moved here. Not here, but this is what I put in, because at the time I couldn't afford anything else, and they're wonderful. But we used to have the whole back area here was covered in these ponds. We'd have to get in here probably once every 3 or 4 months and pump them. We had a mud hog and we've just pumped bottoms out. We're gonna break this thing down in a couple of weeks. We've been wanting to, but we've been running out of time. But this is our last one. I don't know why we kept it, but it's kind of a fun one because they've surrounded it really well. The toads can't get in here, something that we would have to fight for 6 months of the year. So these fish are safe. If the toads could get in here, these fish would be gone. They'd be dead. They would have killed them because they breed and the eggs. But I mean, the ponds were great for many reasons. One is constant temperature. Even on a cold night, boom, hold it. But there were too many other problems: flooding, toads, other predators, maintenance. So we came out of the ground, and it's been wonderful, wonderful. Hope you enjoyed this. This is how the food came around. Again, we're not scientists, never were. We're just fish farmers that notice when the fish are doing good and when they're not. So anyway, be sure to subscribe, like us, and share it with your friends. Thanks again for being here. See y'all later.